Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this weekly update. My name is Rainey. As always, I'm the proud mayor of the great city of Peekskill, New York. And I'm joined every week today with our awesome city manager, Mr. Andy Stewart. Good afternoon, Andy. How are you?
Hi, Mayor. Good morning to you. Or
Great.
good
Good
day.
morning. Good afternoon, but it's all fine. It's okay. Today is October 19th, 2021, for those of you who may or may not know. And as you all know, hopefully by now, every week, me and the city manager get together to give the community a little bit of information on where the city of Peekskill stands as far as COVID numbers, what we're doing, how we're responding. And we've also included the actual vaccine percentages and a little bit of information on what's going on in the city of Peekskill, just to try to keep people up to date, up to speed of what's going on. So as always, without further ado, we'll start off by just talking about some COVID information for the city of Peekskill. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So the good news is that our vaccination rate continues to steadily and slowly improve. It hit 78.7%. And just in the last report from the Westchester Data Portal, which we have a link to on our city webpage, or rather Facebook page, if anybody wants to click through that, you can see a map showing Peekskill and both the vaccination rate on one set of maps, and then on the other set of maps is the active COVID case rate. And the good news on that is it went down since we last checked. It's at 34, actually 32, down from 34 last week, 47 the week before that, 74 the week before that. So it's nice to see that both of those numbers moving in the direction that means we're a slightly healthier city with a higher vaccination rate and a lower case rate. Of course, as winter comes and people are more together, indoors, we do have to make sure that we continue to practice the safety measures that everybody hopefully has learned to do. Washing hands, face masks, social distancing, and trying to be very careful to avoid spreading this very contagious illness.
Absolutely.
So our numbers are headed the right way, which is good to see overall.
Beautiful. Good. Well, good to see you moving forward. I do want to say I don't know if I'm sure you've read Andy that we lost one of our state leaders, our nation, I say national leaders, Colin Powell, recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to extend again and say rest in peace to Colin Powell. And he was a powerful figure in the United States, and he's done so much work for the people, for humanity itself. So God bless him, and our condolences from the city of Peekskill to him and his entire family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was actually fully vaccinated as well. But he was fighting other battles, including cancer and other things too. So, but we still encourage people to be safe out there. But rest in peace to such an honorable person who's committed his life to making change and improvements for the people that he serves in this wonderful nation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, Andy, thanks again. I do want to remind people we have been meeting very, very frequently the last couple of weeks to discuss the budget. As our city manager and staff propose a budget, and they're going over some of the highlighted details with the council. We have another meeting this evening. Tonight's at 7. Last night began at 6 because we had such a lengthy agenda. But for those of you who are interested in what's going on with the city finances and where the city is at financially, please tune in tonight. Tonight will be our final presentation as far as the staff goes in their departments in the city of Peekskill. Myself and the Common Council will then be able to discuss any changes that we'd like to see, any recommendations we'd like to take out, add or remove. And we will be hopefully adopting a budget within the next couple of weeks for the fiscal year of 2022.
So our presentations tonight, Mayor, are the fire department, the clerk, the youth bureau, Section 8 offices, and the police. And the department heads are really doing a great job of describing their operations and providing a little context for their numbers. And the presentations last night were I think very informative. We had the assessor, human resources, nutrition, seniors, the planning department, our corporation counsel's office, finance and IT, which was a very interesting presentation about upgrading our ability to prevent hacking and have kind of a cloud-based data storage and disaster recovery options and so on. So it's really a very important presentation. So these are really great opportunities for the public to find out more about the specifics of city operations and how much they cost.
There you go. So please continue to tune in. And the city's been doing pretty okay. Despite the challenges that we faced in the past a year and a half, 2 years. So I thank again Andy and the staff for your hard work on that. And yep. On to the next subject. I want to remind people, as many of you know, Governor Cuomo, when he was in office last year, he asked all the municipalities across the state to create police task force reforms, and the city of Peekskill participated in that initiative as well. And the task force that we created was about maybe 20 something members of the community that came together to discuss improvements that we can have or we can create or implement for a better relationship between our police department and our community and residents. And there was a good number of recommendations that were passed over to the council, which was approved by the council in early spring or late spring, early summer of this year. And we've continued the conversation with the Human Relations Commission, and we're working on our CCRB and some other conversations that are consistent with improvement for the police department and our community. And next Tuesday, October 26th at 7 p.m., the Human Relations Commission will again continue to dialogue, and I plan on joining this meeting. And I encourage the residents of the community and any people who are interested in just having a better police department relationship with their community to attend this meeting to see what the discussions are and what other possible recommendations will be submitted to the council for approval at a later date.
So this one, just so folks know, this discussion is going to involve specifics about what a community complaint review board would look like in the city of Peekskill. There's a well-developed proposal for that. I credit the NAACP in particular with a lot of effort on that, but also members of the task force themselves. And so there'll be kind of a debate and a dialogue over the best way of writing that law before. And HRC is basically serving a very important function to kind of host that conversation among interested parties before we move a proposal to the city council for consideration.
Right. And I just want to remind people two things. One, I'm so glad that we brought the Human Relations Commission into this first thing. Second, the proposals that the city council received, those are recommendations that the city council approved to hopefully to effectively have the dialogue that we needed without wasting time, as well as to try to improve our police department as fast and as soon as possible. However, the recommendations, for example, the CCRB recommendation. Hold on one second. You go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
The CCRB is a recommendation of the task force that the city council supported in concept. It requires an actual law with detailed language about how the review process would work. It's very specific in detailing how investigations are conducted, what kinds of incidents qualify for review and what kinds don't. For example, items that are taken up by the county district attorney as criminal matters would not become issues for the CCRB. But if someone had a complaint about police officer conduct in an incident, the CCRB typically would be reviewing information that the police chief is reviewing.
Yeah,
paralleling the police's own internal investigation and then making a recommendation as to whether the issue was proven to have occurred or not, or had an explanation that's different from perhaps what was believed at first. So it's an important tool. There aren't a lot of them in the state, but they do function well. And I think it would help the community to know that any performance issues were subjected to a very rigorous review.
Right, absolutely. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I just wanted to add to that the recommendation that we received. Just because we receive a new recommendation doesn't mean that we're going to delete or get rid of the recommendations the council already approved. But there's always, as the council members have said, this is a living document. There's always room for improvement. I know it's a cliche way to look at it, but there's always room for improvement. So if we can find better ways to make it work, we will. But it doesn't mean that every recommendation is going to be accepted and approved. If it makes sense for the city of Peekskill, then of course the Human Relations Commission, the city council, city manager will definitely look into it, as well as the police chief.
One of the things that we've done in past HRC meetings and the city council as well is the police chief has provided an update across all several dozen recommendations and kind of progress report. and there's just a whole bunch of different activities. Some of them are not as anywhere near as complicated as setting up a CCRB, but they're important nonetheless for the quality of service. And then we get more ideas. For example, somebody recently communicated with my office saying, hey, you know, there are other places that offer residents that have security cameras on their homes, like on their porch, the opportunity to register those cameras with the police. So the police immediately know who might have a camera if a crime or an accident occurs somewhere near that house. It just seems like a good idea. It's something that we are talking about doing and offering that enhancement to the public safety service and police. So we really have started an open dialogue, and we'll continue, as you say, to consider any new useful insights that might become possible for implementation.
There you go. So I look forward to the dialogue next week. So feel free to tune in. So, anything on your end?
I just want to mention a couple of other things, Mary, just as an event-based question. I want people to know that you know, obviously Halloween's coming up, and we want people to stay safe. And if they're trick-or-treating, you know, make sure they do that safely. There is a recreation department is running a pumpkin painting event. It's happening on Saturday, October 30th at 11 o'clock in Pugsley Park. It's free for city residents, but you have to sign up. So please register with the recreation department. I know the youth bureau is running Halloween related events as well, a haunted parking lot and some other fun stuff. So please stay tuned for those events that the city is organizing. Absolutely. We can also take a look at some of the matters that came up in city council meeting last night, Mayor. If you want to provide some brief updates on that, I can kind of run down the list. Number one, I just want to mention that the nutrition center is open for business in a big way. Yesterday, the lot of seniors showed up. They were running their bus, picking people up, and they had the senior club and the nutrition program hosted a good number of people. I know that some city council members and our county executive George Latimer actually showed up. I believe they actually had him sing a song, which was really sweet. And so it's great to see those people coming together and having a chance to enjoy each other's company actually in person now after such a long period of time of home deliveries of food and lack of social contact. So I wanted to mention also that we're looking to purchase an electric vehicle. As the council is very supportive of sustainability efforts and increasingly electric vehicles, the cars that we use, for example, for building inspections or housing inspections by Section 8, it's a good deal to run an electric vehicle. It may cost a little more to start, but you save on gas and maintenance over the long term. So we're looking into that as a sustainability kind of effort. I wanted to mention that the council discussed the ban on smoking in parks again, and had some more questions, and is not yet ready to vote on the matter. But right now the topic seems to be whether or not it might make sense to carve out some locations within parks to permit smoking and where those might be. So we'll look forward to getting more information together on that idea and see where that goes. I can keep going if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. I know there's a couple of other things you can mention. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, we had a couple of discussions on the corporate drive, which is great. South Street construction, yeah. The nuisance smoking ban, smoking in parks. I know members of the council were looking at areas to create for or to allow different forms of smoking, which
yeah, we had that public hearing last week, and some people really spoke out forcefully for the need to have some areas to smoke. And I know that I think the council's divided on that right now, and so we'll see where that conversation goes.
Yeah, I mean, I just for clarity, I want to make sure that everyone knows that the entire council, I think, is in agreement that people need to find somewhere to smoke. I think that the ban was specifically on parks.
Of course.
So if you can find a location that's not a playground or a park to smoke, I don't think there's any opposition to that. But you know, as a father of 3 children, I like to enjoy the parks without smelling anything. I know other council members misworded it and said it was a Target issue, but it's not. It's just you want to enjoy the parks, that's what they're there for. And um, people compare, for some reason, people are comparing marijuana to alcohol, saying, if alcohol should be here, then marijuana should be here. And I don't have any comment on that, but um, we don't allow alcohol in the parks either. So I think that's if we're going to compare, I think that makes perfect sense. So, but I do look forward to hearing what the council members have come up with, for those that have come up with areas that they think we should recommend as smoking areas, and we'll discuss it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to mention also that the city council discussed the planning commission's comments on a proposed tree ordinance that would require a permit for when you cut down a tree. And the planning commission had a variety of comments on that. The city council has been working on it for a while, and so we're gonna take a look at those planning commission comments and get back to the city council with some revisions before we set a public hearing on that law for public comment by a public hearing. But it's been under development for a while, and essentially it would regulate tree removal by requiring a permit process, and then creating a fund for planting more trees, street trees, and other tree maintenance, where the removal of a tree would require, if you couldn't actually replant a tree on your property to replace a tree that was removed, then there would be a contribution to the tree fund to help sustain tree planting elsewhere. So I think the law is coming a long ways. It's almost ready for public hearing, but the planning commission's comments were pretty detailed, and we need to go through those and make necessary adjustments.
Okay. So yeah, that's it. That's great news though. To the electric vehicle, that's awesome. Section 8 came up with more information, which is they've been doing fantastic. So I think we can go, unless you have anything else, we can go to the questions and comments.
Yeah, let's take a look at questions and comments if there's anything there. I haven't been able to look at Facebook while we're doing this, so let's see. Mayor, can you see it? Because I'm not seeing it. Hold on. So
I don't understand why it doesn't.
Here we go. Okay, I'm able to see now.
I see it too. Okay. All right. Well, we have a referendum on opting out of cannabis dispensary lounges within the city of Peekskill.
Okay,
opting out. They're asking.
So on the cannabis dispensary and lounges policy question, the city council discussed last night as well. The way that works is marijuana dispensaries are legal in the state of New York, but localities can refuse to permit them within their boundaries, but you have to opt out via creating a local law. We have until December 31st to do that if the city council would like to do that. That's why it's being discussed. Any local law requires a public hearing, but it does not require a referendum, which would be a vote on the ballot. If the city does opt out, the members can petition for a referendum to reverse that decision, and so there's a process laid out for that. Right now, we don't know whether the city is going to opt out or not, because it's currently under discussion within the city council, which has asked for more information from staff, specifically about if the city does not opt out and actually allows dispensaries and lounges, what might that look like in terms of traffic impacts and locational issues within the city. So we're putting together some more information about that, working with the police department and the planning department, and we'll bring that information back to the city council. If the city council does decide to opt out again, it takes place via passing a local law, which requires a public hearing and is subject to being overturned by a referendum if folks collect enough signatures and force a ballot.
Mm-hmm. I see the other question was asking about
the water system.
So I know that David Rambo had mentioned. I mean, and that's a good question, Ms. McScott too. Is we also try to use our city website. We also use our government channel. We discuss a lot of these things in the meetings, so people who have access to television can see If they have access to the internet, they can see, and if they also have access to social media, they can see. But I think she's suggesting like a code red type of thing. Is that what she's asking?
I think so. I mean, when there's a water interruption or a break or some other issue, we can use code red to make automated phone calls to the vicinity. But with hydrant flushing, you're basically flushing hydrants throughout the city. It would require code reds every which way, repeatedly throughout the day. As the people need to understand that to maintain our fire protection services, every place has to flush hydrants to make sure they're working okay and not jammed up. And that just happens on a regular basis. When you see it happening, there will often be some discoloration in the water. And when people see that, they know that the hydrants are being flushed. They can run their cold water until it clears up. If there's a persistent problem, they should always call the water department to make sure that the water department knows about it.
Right. And just for knowledge's sake, and you may not know the answers, Andy, but how often do we do these?
It happens at least once a year. It's a citywide program. So they're not all done at once. They have to move through the city from block to block. So it's a comprehensive maintenance program for hydrants.
Perfect. So, there's a lot of talk about like the water, like people are saying it too, like every year we have an issue with the water, but it's good that they know that every year we flush. So that could be.
Yeah, people should come to expect it as a routine part of living in any city now. That at least once a year there's going to be hydrant flushing, and you're likely to see some discoloration during that process when you're running water into your tub or something like that. I mean, look, it's annoying. There's no doubt about it. It's a little upsetting to see the water not running completely clear, and that's just part of modern life. Having a water system requires that. The pipes do get sediments in them. They get stirred up. They settle out, and the water runs clean over it. But when you do hydrant flushing, it stirs up those sediments, and they get kind of up into the stream of water in the pipe, so they can come out people's faucets. And it's definitely, it takes you back a little bit. You see the water isn't as clear as you'd like it to be, for sure. And we understand that's annoying or upsetting to some people. They just need to understand that in order to provide clean water and fire safety, you have to flush the system periodically.
Those are the only two questions I see on my end. Are you seeing any others, Andy?
Nope. So we appreciate people, and also we really do appreciate people phoning in or emailing or letting us know. We don't always see issues and complaints on Facebook because we can't be looking at all pages all the time. But the website has a communications drop-down list for reporting issues. Recently, somebody reported some really terrible graffiti over at Franklin Park, and we got that report, and our guys were out there early in the morning the next day and cleaned it up. We really appreciate when people call things in. I get reports about potholes, sinkholes, dangerous situations with a tree, with a branch falling. All these things are things that we're very much happy to have people let us know when they see an issue that we can deal with to preserve public safety.
Absolutely. So thank you all sincerely, and for the people who don't know and they just post things on Facebook, that helps us as well too. Whether or not I like the content, if there's an issue we can resolve it, we definitely try. So thank you all for tuning in once again. Andy, thanks for the great report as always, and I look forward to seeing you all same time next week.
All right, take care, Mayor. Bye-bye.
You too, man.